Hello and what is up guys, welcome back to another Anime Vanguards video, and today I'm giving you all a basic beginner's guide to Anime Vanguards. This beginner's guide will cover the very basics of the game, as well as give you all a direction of what you should be doing to ensure you have a decent time grinding and playing the game. Before we get into that though, make sure to like and subscribe as it helps me out a lot, and make sure to join my Discord server to communicate with me as I can answer any questions you may have, and I might be able to help you out a bit depending on what you need help with. I must note though, it is a new server and not the old one I had been using before, so keep that in mind. So one of the first things you should be doing in any of these types of games is using any available codes as well as following their groups so you can claim the group rewards right here in the center. These codes will give you gems, trait rerolls, and other important items you're going to need later. Gems are by far the most important and valuable resource you're going to have as a beginner player, and I'll explain why shortly. But first I want to go over the very basics. Of course, you all likely know how a tower defense works. You place down units, you don't let enemies reach the end. The main gameplay for you beginner folks is going to be in the story stages over here. Note though that the story area contains both normal story stages and legend stages for each map, excluding Planet Namek. Story stages are the very basic stages, rewarding gems, food items for units, and player XP upon completion. The legend stages, however, will drop unit evolution items on top of everything else mentioned. These are going to be important later. Now that we got that cleared up, back to the whole gems topic. Gems are the currency used to roll on the standard and selection banners, which are how you obtain units basically. There are rare, epic, legendary, and mythic units on both of these banners. At all times, there will be 3 mythic units on the banner that have a higher chance of being summoned than the units that are not on the banner. The units on the side have a 20% chance to be summoned, while the unit in the middle has a 50% chance to be summoned, leaving a 10% chance for a unit not on the banner to be summoned through this. The selection banner is very much alike the standard banner, but with one key difference, and that difference being that you can select any unit that you want to be on the middle of the banner. This will refresh every 24 hours, and you can keep the unit on the middle of the banner as long as you want. Personally, I suggest summoning for units such as Ichigo, however, I'll be making a video later for what I believe to be the best 5 units for beginners, so make sure to look out for that. Gems can be obtained through clearing stages, codes, the battle pass, the group reward, and many other methods. One of the easiest things though you can do to rack up a few gems very quickly is to play through as many stages as you can on Nightmare mode, since you can claim achievement rewards for doing so, as well as claim a small bonus for clearing stages on Nightmare for the first time. Now let's say you do it, you summon a mythic unit. Now how do you get that mythic unit stronger? To answer that, we gotta cover the upgrade section of the lobby. Here you can do a multitude of things such as evolving units, rerolling stats, crafting items, ascending units, and rerolling the trait of a unit. So let's start out with evolving units, as it's probably the most important thing to do here. Evolving the unit basically makes it stronger, gives it new attacks, gives it new passives, and gives it more purchasable upgrades in matches. To evolve a unit, you need a few items. Some of these items are found in legend stages, as mentioned earlier. One of these items will be different with every unit. You know, Ichigo needs horns to evolve, while the Vegeta needs sensu beans to evolve. However, one constant throughout all unit evolutions are essence stones, which I'll be covering very shortly. In the upgrade section, you can also reroll your traits on the units. Traits are essentially a modifier that gives your units specific perks and stat changes. However, I would highly recommend to not use this as a beginner and to instead save your rerolls for when you acquire better units, so that way you're not wasting any of these on bad units. Another thing to do in the upgrade section is to reroll stat ranks, which are very straightforward. Higher the stat rank, the higher percentage your stats increase. You can reroll on damage, cooldown, and range, with the lowest rank is being the C tier, while the highest is godly, which can be identified by this symbol. Now, do note really quick that every 5,000 takedowns your unit gets, you are guaranteed an A stat or above when you're either rerolling one stat or all stats, and that evolving a unit will increase the stat ranks by 1 each time. So basically, the best way to explain that is that Z will go to Z plus upon evolution, you know, C will go to B upon evolution, so make sure to get high stat ranks on a unit before evolving them. Now, ascending units is another part of upgrading them, however it's only relevant in niche circumstances. Ascending a unit is basically sacrificing a spare copy of the same unit to give the one that you're keeping some bonus stats. Now, these bonus stats aren't very high and they cost extra of the evolution items for the specific unit, so I wouldn't really recommend trying to summon for duplicates to do this until you reach endgame. Crafting is the final thing you can do in the upgrade section. Here you can turn basic green essence stones into legendary rarity essence stones in colors such as blue, red, purple, yellow, or pink. You can also use essence stones to craft specific items needed for some of the unit evolutions, such as the item to evolve Saber, Lancer, and a few other units. In the crafting section, you can also use the synthesis feature to obtain legend stage items that are dropped in stages that you do not currently have unlocked. For example, let's say you need 12 Z swords to evolve your Gohan. If you use the synthesis feature, you can take 2 of any evolution item from a previous legend stage, such as a red or blue chakra, and convert it into 1 Z sword. This of course would take double the materials, but it's a good way of getting better units early on. Now remember how I said I'd cover more about essence stones? Well, now we're doing that. So essence stones are a basic crafting item that are obtained in a multitude of ways. The main source of essence stones, though, for most people is in the challenges section of the lobby. Challenges come in 3 main types: weekly, daily, and half-hourly. And these are named after how often they refresh once you beat them. Daily challenges will likely be one of the best ways for you to obtain essence stones. Now, do note sometimes that the challenge will be for a map you haven't unlocked yet, which means you might just need to wait or grind till you unlock that stage. The absolute easiest way for a beginner to obtain essence stones is likely through leeching off of portals. Portals are a game mode where someone places down a portal and all players who enter will go through an event level, which has seasonal drops. This current event, for example, giving flowers, chests, and shamrocks, specifically for the spring event. Leeching in portals is essentially allowing someone else to do all of the work, and the reason people allow leeching is so the person doing all of the damage can get the MVP bonus and double the rewards from the match. While leeching, you can get a chest, and this chest can contain flowers, trait rerolls, a familiar, or 10 green essence stones, which is actually a fairly common drop, so you're likely going to get that more than often. In fact, I'll likely be grinding portals myself, so if you join the Discord and ask to leech, I may be able to basically carry you through some portals if I have the time, or if I'm already grinding. Now, moving on from essence stones and evolutions altogether, allow me to explain more features of the lobby that will be essential as a beginner player. First up is the time chamber, which is essentially an AFK place where you can earn some bonus rewards over time, while doing nothing. These bonus rewards are gems and flowers for the current spring banner, but hey, I mean, it's better than nothing. You can't be a beggar and a chooser. Up next are boss rushes. Boss rushes are essentially 30 wave long game modes featuring a specific character as the boss. Some of these have unique mechanics, and some of them are pretty straightforward. The boss rush cycle is weekly and features a different boss and stage each week. The drop rewards for each boss rush vary slightly, but a constant across all of them is that they will give you gems and boss rush tokens, which can be used in the boss rush shop to buy stat reroll chips, emotes, essence stones, and trait rerolls. Something very important to note though is that the boss rush will reset each week and cycle it out, and with it cycling and resetting, so does the shop, and each reset will also put your coins back to 0. So make sure to spend all of your coins before the boss rush gets cycled. Raids are another game mode I'll give you a quick rundown of. These are 20 wave long stages that reward tokens specifically for their shops. The raid shops are how you obtain evolution items for specific characters and are another source of essence stones and trait rerolls. Raids are also an excellent source of XP, and I would highly recommend grinding them once you're able to solo them. That way you can easily get some level milestones and hit level 50 for your 6th unit slot very quick. And PvP is something. And that something is something I'm not going to bother explaining, and wow, I'm saying something a lot to really avoid talking about PvP. You know, I'm gonna skip it because the game mode sucks and it's not for beginner players anyway. The trophy room also isn't getting a long explanation either because it's quite literally just a shop for emotes. So, yeah. One of the last things in the lobby that I want to talk about is the Odyssey game mode. You can kind of think of this as an infinite tower climb type game mode with rewards being given with each floor up to floor 13 if my memory serves me right. The rewards you get are gems, trait rerolls, and some extra rerolls for familiars. Familiars can be obtained through many of the shops and through some event chests, and can be applied to your unit. Familiars basically give your unit some extra stat boosts, as well as having their own unique functions to boost the unit in some way, shape, or form. Okay, so the final topic I want to talk about that is crucial to this game are unit passives. Every unit has a set of at least one passive, with mythic units, for example, having 2 passives, and secret units also having 3 passives. These passives are sort of built-in functions to the unit that separate it from other units. For example, let's take Vegeta, and his first passive will lower his cooldown by 20% if the only units in range are other Vegeta, with the second passive giving him double damage when hitting one enemy. Now, his passives are rather straightforward, while other units have more complex passives, so I would highly recommend reading your unit's passives to get an understanding of how they work and how they're different from other units. Now, I believe I've covered just about everything a beginner player will need to know. Of course, I left out some things, however, I mostly left out stuff a beginner player doesn't need to know just yet, so you'll learn about dungeons and rifts and the bad game modes eventually, but now you should be pretty good and have a general understanding of how the game works. So, I mean, as I stated earlier, join the Discord server linked below, and I'll likely be free to answer any of your questions and maybe even help you out a bit. That's all, folks. Have a wonderful day, good luck on the grind, and I will see you next time.